Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Preview Show, Week 14. The weeks are ticking away. There's not much left, only 4 weeks left of the regular season. Last night we saw Caleb Williams, Heisman Trophy winner of USC. So some big news coming out there for him, looking like he might be the 2024 first round pick quarterback. So one to watch out for. And on Thursday night, we had Baker Mayfield back playing against the Las Vegas Raiders. Adam, did you catch any of the highlights of that game?
I did. I love that the Raiders are the Raiders. I just love them so much for being like it. It's great. They actually couldn't be any more Raiderish than what they were on Thursday night. That's how Raiderish they are. Yeah, bit crazy. Don't believe that he just got the playbook that day or whatever they were going on about. He must have had it a little bit earlier to be able to pull off some of the plays that Mayfield did. Yeah, I mean, it kind of opens up the Rams a little bit to maybe being able to do a bit more for the rest of the season with Mayfield there. But the Raiders just, I don't know. I have no words for the fans. I just feel sorry for them when this sort of thing happens because it's so mental. But it happens all the time. It's not a fluke. This is what they are, and there's something needs changing, and I don't necessarily think it's the head coach because he's only been there for so long.
Well, I don't know. I can't remember whether you were on the show when we were talking about this, but we brought the Raiders up as a topic because I was banging on about the fact that I think they should trade Derek Carr.
Yeah,
trade him and bring someone else in and have a fresh start that way, and keep the head coach for another year and give him his chance to sort of put his stamp on things and do things his way rather than inheriting and not doing the same as what it always does. So yeah, I think I'm probably on the same lines as you. There's got to be some form of playbook that kind of like is just a set thing for everyone. It's kind of like just this play. That's just everybody just runs. It's just got a different name. So
yeah, I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because from what I've heard over the last few days of like ex-pros coming out, ex-quarterbacks saying, oh, it's really difficult. You can't just sort of step into it and it'll all be fine. And I don't know, maybe they're sort of egging it up a bit and all that. But you do just sort of think to yourself, it's like, it can't be that easy. It can't be, surely. So, I mean, obviously for someone like Baker Mayfield, who's played for quite a while now, is used to different playbooks, having moved from different teams as well. Maybe there are things that were just done that would to make it really simple. Maybe that last, because I know normally the beginning is scripted, but maybe the end was scripted for him in almost like this is a play that we're going to do at some point.
mm-hmm.
And if we're near the point where we could potentially win it, this is what it's going to be. So maybe there was a bit of that involved in it. But I mean, it's crazy. It goes to show how mental the NFL is and how difficult it is to predict anything.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And I know farewell from looking online, there was a lot of people cheering on Baker Mayfield and wanting him to do well. So that's always a positive on that because the Raiders are the Raiders. We move on to tonight's games. And I've got a really good game as my first game coming up. So let's take your thoughts. It's the New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I think I think this would be quite close, actually. I think that Jets defense is just so good. Struggling a little bit against the run, I've noticed over the last few weeks, but against the pass, they're still pretty good. One of the top 5 easily in the league. So, yeah, I think that Jets defense is going to do well. When it comes to players that I like, especially for the Jets, it's Garrett Wilson all the time. I think Wilson is definitely worth looking at. He's 9-5. It's a nice price. I know he's going up against the Bills, but if the Bills can be caught anywhere, it is normally in the secondary. So I think Wilson has the potential to break through a play and do that. The only other one really on the Jet side that I like the look of is Knight. I think that Michael Carter is going to be, if he's not out, he's going to be limited to what he can do this week. So I think Knight at 21-10 is quite a nice price, a slightly bigger one. So I quite like him for that. On the Bills side, it's very much the run game. It feels like that's the bit that you can get at the Jets now a little bit, is the run game. So Devon Singletary at 13-10, I think, is a good price. And then finally, Josh Allen as one of your favourite QB sneaks at 6-4. I think they're the two that I like on the Bill side. I did look at Diggs, but he's about even money. I can't trust Gabe Davis at all, because one game he'd be great, one game he'd disappear. So I think for touchdown scorers, we're pretty much looking at them ones. I do like the Jets at +10. It's a big line. And actually it's gone up. It's now like you can get like +11, +12 in certain places. So I quite like the Jets for that. I think that defense will get them a long way in this game. And I think is it meant to be bad weather? They're talking about maybe some snow there.
I would have thought so. It's
yeah.
There's always going to be bad weather up there this time of the year now, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think with that, you're looking a bit more of the run game. I think it'll be the over under. I quite like the look of. It's 43, so under 43. Tight game, lots of defense. The run, and basically the running backs, Josh Allen. And then just Garrett Wilson, just because it's Garrett Wilson, he's the number one guy there now, and he's going to be the number one guy for a long time to come, I would have thought. And all the time you got Mike White out there, he's going to be relevant.
Now, you said this is going to be quite, you perceive it to be run heavy. I think it's going to be run heavy with just sheer on the weather. There's a guy you haven't mentioned at the Bills, James Cook, seems to be flourishing a bit over the last couple of weeks. Was their lead runner last week, wasn't he? Do you think he's going to get more involved? He's in the change up. So do you think that you might see a bit more of him?
Yeah, I think they probably will get more involved with him. I think that he will do more. I just liked Singletary because I just feel like he's a little bit more hardened to it at the moment. He's been a bit more experienced. So I think that he's the one that I would be more willing to go for. But I do understand why people would go down that route with James Cook. I think he's a really good running back, and I think you're going to see in the certainly next year. I think you're going to see him emerge quite a lot next year, I think. So yeah, he's definitely one to look out for. I mean, I'm just trying to. Yeah, so he's 17-10. He's 17-10 for a touchdown anytime. Little bit bigger than Singletary, but I just feel like, to me, I'd rather go Singletary in this one. But yeah, I think Cook can certainly get involved more.
It's always a dangerous one when Josh Allen's in there, because he'll take all the chances in the red zone at running it in over the running backs. That's always the issue, and that's what's driving their odds. Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a really, really close game. I think it's a tough one to call. I think the Bills might edge this one. I just think they've been around the circuit a bit longer with the team they've got pushing for the playoffs, and this is new to the Jets. So I think, despite the fact they're playing really, really well, I think the Bills will edge this one, being a divisional game as well. So yeah, I'm sticking with the Bills. Yeah. Next game up is the Cleveland Browns at the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I think this is. I would be surprised if the Bengals don't get this one, to be honest. The spread is -5.5. I actually think they could probably do better than that, really. The Bengals look a really good side. The offense is clicking much better. Got Jamar Chase back now, which is huge for them. I like Jamar Chase at 9-10. He's a bit short, but I do like him against this Browns defense that has just been poor this year, to be honest. And they're not as bad against the pass, but they're still not great, and they're pretty bad against the run. So I quite like the look of all the Bengals, really, in this one. So Chase is 9-10. Higgins is 6-5. I know that there's been a bit of a hamstring injury that's come up, but I mean, Higgins, even injured, I think he's probably going to be strong enough to do a lot of stuff here. They reckon he's going to play, so that's not so much of an issue. Joe Mixon is back. That's going to be massive for them. He's 7-10, so he's really short. Higgins is the one just purely on the odds at 6-5. I like him for this. Also, I quite like the over at 46.5. I think that's one that can be got, because I could see the Bengals getting like 30 points here, in which case I can't see the Browns not scoring, sort of thing. So I think the over at 46.5 at 10 to 11 is nice. Looking on the other side, it's just Chubb. That's all it is. It's the same thing again. It's kind of saying the same thing over and over again every week. It's literally, it's Nick Chubb and that's it. There just isn't anything else that you can really rely on. Amari Cooper is awful away from home. He just suffers so badly away from home. The only time that he's done anything away was against Buffalo, and it wasn't. It was at a neutral ground. So that is literally the only time that he's done anything. Donovan's Peoples-Jones will probably get a bit, but he's not really much of a touchdown scorer. He's more of a move the chains kind of guy. And yeah, I mean, Kareem Hunt doesn't get involved enough. I mean, who else is there? Watson looked ropey at best last week, which is to be expected, to be honest, considering he hadn't played for basically 2 years. So I think that's not a surprise. But yeah, I think the Bengals will win this. Really like Higgins and really like the over.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything there. As predicted, Watson was pretty, as you said, pretty shaky. So it's really hard to trust anyone on that side, as you say, other than Chubb, really, because Chubb's fate's in his own hands. He hasn't got to worry about someone throwing him the ball. Yeah. And we know how consistent and good he is. So that's really, for me, the only one I would be looking at, just because you know what production you can get from him. Like you say, the wide receivers at the Browns, I think now Watson's in there as well. I think if anything, it's made you more uncertain about what they're going to do. Not, he's going to elevate the better players to the next level at the minute. So I'm really worried about them there. And if you're worrying about them, the Bengals are going to just take advantage massively, aren't they? Because they're on the hot streak now. So I'm all in on the Bengals with this one for quite a comfortable victory.
They're also a very good defense. That's one thing a lot of people forget. The Bengals are a very good defense as well, and I think that they'll just be too strong in this game. I think Watson will get it going eventually, but it just won't be for a little while yet.
Yeah, he's going to have to. The Bengals is a tough game to get it going for, isn't it? I mean, even if he has a good game against the Bengals, it still might not be like fantastic, lighting up the world. I think last week was his week to try and do that, wasn't it, against the Texans? So
yeah.
Speaking about the Texans, they are the next game up. It's the Houston Texans at the Dallas Cowboys.
So this is a bit of a similar one, to be honest. It kind of feels pretty much the same. Looking at what's around, it feels like love all of the Cowboys in this game. Think they're all going to do pretty well. Unfortunately, the bookies have worked this out and the prices are incredibly short for everything. Pollard and Zeke are both 3 to 4. Really short odds, but like them both. I actually think, I know this is betting, but if you were playing fantasy, I think you could actually play them both if you had both of them in your team. I really do. That's how good they are. The Texans are very bad against the run. The 28th for rushing touchdowns. Much better against the pass because nobody has to pass on them. So I think you'll find that Pollard and Zeke are going to get loads of the ball. I can see them both scoring. A little bit with CD Lamb, because of the lack of needing to pass, I'm a little bit wary of that one. So because he's 10 to 11, which feels a little short to me. So I wouldn't be going there. But if you want something at a slightly bigger price, you've got Dalton Schultz at 19 to 10. I think he'll come back into it. He's had a couple of quiet games, but I think he'll come back into it this week. The Texans are 27th against the tight end overall. So I like Dalton Schultz. And also Michael Gallup, he's shown that he's done a little bit more. He's 15 to 8, so he's a much bigger price. He's not going to be out there for much, but he is someone that might be worth having a little look at. So, yeah, I think it's mainly going to be Pollard and Zeke in this lot. The Texans have no one. So Damian Pierce is playing. I don't like him at all for this game. He's going up against the Cowboys, who are tied third when it comes to giving up rushing touchdowns. I think he's going to really struggle because they haven't got anything else. Nico Collins is out. Brandon Cooks is out. It's gonna have to be your guy again, I'm afraid. He's the only one left. It's like you have to go for Akins at 13-2 anytime. So it's worth a go as a small punt. It really is. But the Cowboys are a great defense. I remember saying it when Dan Quinn went in there that he was going to transform that defense and has done for the last 2 years. I don't see the Texans scoring many points. The spread is currently -18.5 to the Cowboys, with the over/under being 44, which basically means, if I can work this out quickly, I think they expect the Texans to get 13 points. I think is what 13 points is what they reckon the Texans will get. I think the majority of that will be from field goals. So they might get one touchdown with Akins, but it's a real punt. Cowboys should win this game very, very easily. And but like Pollard and Zeke, but they're very short. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what we said on Thursday on the fantasy show. Start both of them, Zeke and Pollard. I think they're both going to get work. I've seen them in the last 2 games. They are literally changed up all the time, and they get the job done against some strong defenses as well. So there's some hard running from that Dallas Cowboys team. Outside of that, I don't overly trust Dak going deep at the minute. Looked a bit shaky. So the tight ends, as you say, are usually a safe option. But flip side of this, like you said, if Cowboys come out and play well and in front, you can't use Pierce really. As much as you want to use him, and he's like an absolute monster of a runner. Yeah, Dallas are going to be pretty good at stopping him, but you can't rely on just keep him running it. If you're behind, you're going to have to go to the air. I think I was struggling to try and work out who they'd actually now got to play at wide receiver, and I think they've got your fumble expert Amari Rodgers now, haven't they?
Well, he is there, yeah. So I'll have a quick look for you. I know Chris Moore's there, isn't he?
Have they got Philip Dorsett as well?
Yeah. So they've got Chris Moore, Philip Dorsett, Akins at tight end, Brevin Jordan, Amari Rodgers. That's it, really. I mean, there might be some more, but they're.
I think there's a chance they are going to get into the end zone, isn't there? There's always that chance, but
which is why I would probably go for Akins, because he's the bigger guy. Yeah, I kind of get the logic of it. So yeah, there is a chance that they will. I don't see it being through Pierce, to be honest, because I just think that run game is going to get stopped, and they're going to need to chuck it as well, because they're going to be so far behind.
Yeah, if Brevin Jordan's fit, I know 2 weeks ago was struggling. He came back last week, but was in a bit of a snap count. So if you can, either of the tight ends at the Texans, I think they're the most reliable option if you are thinking you want any money on that. Next game up is the Minnesota Vikings at the Detroit Lions, who have got something going.
Yeah, it's I must admit, the first time when I was going through this and looking through the games and stuff like that, I looked at this game and was just shocked by the spread. So the Lions are currently -2.5 favourites for this game. But when you actually look into it and you look at the Lions and what they're doing, especially at home, they're on a bit of a run. They're doing well. They've kind of got something going, which I think we all kind of felt like, I know Freddie definitely did, but we all kind of felt like they had the opportunity to get something going by the end of the season. So I think I can understand it. And when you look at the Vikings are currently 9-0 in 1-score games, which is just crazy, in the same way that last year they were something similar, but the other way.
The other way around, yeah.
Yeah. So it's very strange that's what's happening at the moment with the Vikings. So they are kind of on a bit of a. I think this is why a lot of people are kind of disrespecting them, is what they think. But like, it's, you look at it and you're not really beating anyone that much. in this game, there's loads you can go for. I think it'll hit the over. The over's 51.5. Probably the most exciting game of the early games, to be honest. I really like for this particular one. I think you got to stay in the flames with the Lions. I really do. It's a strange one to go for, but everything is telling you that it's the Lions for this, and they are at home, and that is massive for Jared Goff. He's so much better at home. Jamal Williams is not quite getting involved as much as what he was. However, I can pretty much guarantee there will be a 1-yard touchdown run for him at some stage, because they seem to fall in at the 1-yard line a lot. So Williams is 17 to 20. He's quite short, but I think he'll probably get in. You've also got DeAndre Swift getting loads more touches now, much more involved in the passing game at 13 to 10. So I think that's probably the one out of the two running backs I feel a little bit more certain on. Amon-Ra St. Brown, we all love him. We all know that he's amazing. He's 21 to 20. Again, the disrespect on this guy is unbelievable from the bookies. How he's not odds on, I do not understand. He pops up every week with a touchdown. And, the Vikings defense isn't special. It's okay, but it's not special. It can be scored against. And so I think the Lions probably will, as they're at home. Finally, on the Lions side, quite like the look of DJ Chark this week. He got involved more. He's looking a bit better. He's 21 to 10, so he's the price. He's the one that's a bit bigger to go for here. I think there'll be a lot of attention on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think it'll really matter to him that much, because I think he'll still score. But I think that will open up for Chark a little bit. And so I can see him getting somewhere there. As I said, really like the over at 51.5. I think both teams are going to be quite attacking, and both teams' defenses you can score against. And then on the Vikings, I keep saying Justin Jefferson every week, but he's 9 to 10. He's very short, so I probably wouldn't be going for him, but I would understand why. But the one that I do like on the Vikings side is TJ Hockenson. I feel like he is effectively the wide receiver 2 of this team now. It seems like he's taken over with the amount of snaps and the amount of targets that he's getting compared to Adam Thielen. At 9 to 5, I think he's a nice price to go for Hockenson. So I like Hockenson. And you're going up against this sort of Lions defense, which it is improving, but it is still weak in certain areas. It is weak against the tight end, very weak. Where it has improved, and this is why I haven't mentioned Dalvin Cook and I haven't mentioned Alexander Mattison, is that in the last 6 weeks, they're actually ranked second against the run. They've improved dramatically against the run and not given up so many running touchdowns. So I think that's the reason why they're starting to get a little bit better as well. But I do think that Jefferson and certainly Hockenson can get somewhere there. But yeah, I quite like the Lions for it. And I obviously Swift and St. Brown. So
is there any bias in this as you're a Green Bay fan?
No, I dislike both of them. So
yeah, but even though the Lions are in your division, they've never been an issue, have they? So surely it's more Vikings that you've got the problem with. But
to be honest, I don't think it really matters, because we're not going anywhere and they're going to be in the playoffs anyway.
Yeah. No, I fully understand where you're coming from with it. I mean, the last 2 weeks, I've had to come out and defend the Lions against you and Freddie and say the defense has been pretty solid the last couple of weeks. They haven't been as leaky. They played they played the Cowboys. They didn't give up much against the Cowboys. They blew out the Giants last week again. They won. So it's hard to say that they're not playing some decent ball at the moment. And then, as you say, you took it away from me. I should start going first sometimes and start talking, because I just cross out things off my list and say DJ Chark already. They're going to line up this week with Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark, and Jameson Williams, aren't they? And just looking at that, they haven't had that all year, have they? They've had injuries there. Amon-Ra St. Brown's missed a little bit of time as well. And that's when they took their dip, didn't they? They lost Swift and Brown. Yeah. And they took a little bit of a dip because they were playing some really good ball prior to that. So we might see the full max from them now. Everybody's fit and it might work. So yeah, now is the perfect time to probably get on them and play the Vikings at this point. And it's really shocking that when you look at the Vikings record, that every time we come to today and every time we come to fantasy or anything like that, we just say Jefferson. How can they be the record they are with one player? It is just one player as well.
I suppose it's because they're winning these games that are so close. You know, they're not exactly scoring loads of points. They're not sort of they're not kind of blowing anyone away. At the same time, they're not getting beaten up by anyone that badly either. So I think that, as I've said a lot of the time, the defense is okay. That is probably the best word for them. They are solid, but they're not spectacular. And I think that's a lot of the time that's enough to keep you in games. And so all the time you can do that, and then you can have a star wide receiver who can just be the difference maker. That's all you need. I mean, you know, Green Bay fan, Devontae Adams had it for, you know, that's what it was for the last sort of 2-3 years. So it's like you have a defense that keeps you in it. And then you just sort of, but you have that difference maker. Like we had Rodgers and Adams. They've got Jefferson, maybe not Cousins so much, but like it's what it is. It's like I think if you can have that star guy, it elevates you enough so that if everything else is level, then it just pushes you just slightly above it. So I think that's where it works for them. I do think that Hockenson coming in has made a big difference for him, though, because it's like he is a big-bodied receiver who just Cousins can use as a kind of like a safety net in the same way that Hurts does with Goddard. It's the same thing. So, yeah, I think that's why. But they can't keep doing this. Eventually, they're going to fall. It's going to go wrong, and I just can't help but feel I don't know. They might not be, but they really feel like a team that's going to end up in the playoffs and get done in the first round by a team who just clicks on that particular day. So that's the only problem with them.
Yeah, I don't see them beating an Eagles or a Cowboys really in the playoffs. So that's where you're saying you come a bit unstuck with just being a one-trick pony of Jefferson, isn't it? So
it's the same as what the Packers were.
Yeah, and they came unstuck quite a few times. On to the next game. Just to remind you, while you're having while you're down, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans. Are we going to see Trevor Lawrence bounce back this week?
So Lawrence has got, I think it's a toe injury, but they're expecting him to play. They reckon he'll be fine, but it's something that they're talking about, and it's worth sort of noting. But they reckon he'll be okay. So the Titans are very, very strong against the run. They kind of like they put all their eggs in that basket and they just stop the run. They're currently ranked 1 against rushing touchdowns. So it could be a long day for ETN, to be honest, when it comes to the running side of it. So I haven't really gone with him this week. But the one area you can get at them is at the pass. Their secondary is pretty much non-existent, and you can just go over the top to them. We've seen it over the last 3 or 4 weeks. It was AJ Brown when they played the Eagles. I think the Steelers went over the top against them as well. Yeah. So it's definitely something that a lot of teams can do. For that, I really like Christian Kirk. He's 2-1. That feels very big. Yeah, very big for me. I know they're away and they're playing against the strong. You know, the Titans are a decent defense against the run, but against the pass, that surprised me. I mean, I'll have a quick look and make sure that he still is, but he was 2-1 last night when I looked at him, and I just thought that seemed like a really big price. Okay, so he's gone into 9-5 now, but even still, it's still a pretty big price. So I like Kirk at that price. I don't really like anything else on the Jags side this week, to be honest. I don't feel like I think Zay Jones is a good receiver, but I don't think he's a touchdown scorer personally. I think he's more of a chain mover, so I'm not really that keen on anything else. And then on the Titans side, obviously Derrick Henry every week, but he's 4-7. It's incredibly short, so I won't be going there. The only other one, now this is a bit out there. You might, I don't know if you found this one or not. Chig Okonkwo, probably said his name appallingly badly, but he's 100-30. He was on 58% of snaps last week. He looked all right. He looked decent. He's a young tight end who, for the Titans, is probably the biggest bodied receiver there now in that team. Robert Woods isn't really much of a touchdown scorer anymore. Treylon Burks, we don't know if he's going to play because of the concussion he got last week. It doesn't look like he's going to. So you sort of start thinking, where's it going and who's it going to go to? Now, unfortunately, it may go to Austin Hooper. That's the other one with this. But Okonkwo, I quite like the look of him. He's 7-2 at the moment. So, you can get him 137-2 in different places. I think he's got a good chance of maybe getting a score when you're going up against a Jags defense who are not amazing. They're all right, but they're not great, and you're at home. So I feel like at a big price, he's kind of my Akins this week. So
you've been doing too many shows with me. It's finally broken you down, and you're looking at depth charts and you're looking at what people did last week and gone, oh, they've thrown the ball to him last week. yeah. Because you struggled pronouncing his name. I think they struggled on Red Zone pronouncing his name as well. Obviously, a rookie from Maryland. He was quite a favoured one out of college to come to this draft. So I'm not surprised that we're now seeing his name at the back end of the year and seeing a bit more from him. So yeah, that is the sort of bet that I'd be trying to fight for this week. So yeah, I think he's notched in at third on the depth chart. I'm not sure if they've got if Hooper and Swaim are carrying injuries or not, and that's why he's come in, or whether they want to see what they've got for the future and maybe move off of some of these guys and bring this guy in to the fold a little bit with the Al struggling at receiving. So possibly, it's got a good shout. Like I said, we heard his name last week, so there's no reason why we won't hear it again. But yeah, I'm finding this game really hard to call for a winner. I don't know if you are. I'm still on board with it's hard to write the Titans off with how good the coaching scheme is and how I have seen inconsistency from the Jaguars. It doesn't seem to translate every single week. They have a good game, a bad game, a good game. We get on the hype train. We like what we see. And then it doesn't transpire the following week. And that is why I found it really hard to call. I want to say it's the Jags game this week. I want to say that there is more talent on that team. And that's why they'll push through and win it. But I believe that's exactly what I said last week, wasn't it? That is the exact comment.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? So we made a big thing about the touchdown winning drive against Baltimore and how we felt like that was a changing thing that was happening there now, and that Trevor Lawrence was moving on and stuff like that. And then they went to the Lions, and I know the Lions are on a bit of a run, and the Lions are at home, so they are a different beast when they're at home. But you just kind of felt like this is something that you should be moving on here. And I think, I can't remember exactly, was it 10 or 14 points they got? It wasn't a lot. And it just kind of feels a little bit like you can't rely on your defense to get you out of trouble every week. So you need your offense to work as well. And it just felt strange that it's like it didn't turn up. And I know that Lawrence went out the game for a little bit and then came back, but it just kind of felt weird that they only managed to put up that many points against a Lions defense that you can put points up against. So that was strange to me. But yeah, it's a really difficult one. I'll probably go for the Titans. Tennessee have won the last 5 against Jacksonville. I think I'll probably go for the Titans in this one. But you don't really know what you're going to get with the Jags at the moment. So, I mean, it's probably slightly better for them than knowing that they're going to lose. But they now know that they can put performances out there. But it just kind of feels a bit don't know at the moment. So, yeah, I'll probably go with the more certainty of the Titans and the coaching.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the Titans all year keep close games with top teams. And narrowly lose some of the games that we thought they might win and won the others. So it's hard to go against them every week, isn't it? We spoke about them on the Tuesday show of what's really going on there because they seem to have taken a step back, but they still seem to be got a winning record, going to win their division, and it just seems like something's not really going in the right direction at the franchise. So, yeah, it's hard to go against them, really. Next game up, it's be the one that I have on a different screen. It's the Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants.
Oh, I thought you were going to give me the Ravens Steelers. Oh, okay. Right, the Eagles Giants. I think this could be really close, actually. I do actually feel like this could be a tight game. Divisional matchup. A lot of them are division. Are they all divisional matchups? They're not all of them, but a lot of them are. A lot of them are. So, yeah, I think this could be quite close. Quite like the +7 on the Giants at 10 to 11. I think they've got a chance to bring this in, make it quite tight. Like the under at 45. So that's at 10 to 11 as well. Obviously, a lot of this depends on Saquon Barkley being fit or not. That's kind of the one thing that if he's not, then it's going to be incredibly difficult for the Giants to put points up. So that's the problem. He's 17 to 20. He's very short. I don't think I'll be going there just because of the injury risks and all that and everything to do with that. The only other person on the Giants side I like the look of is Bellinger. He's the only one that I kind of like the look of. I think he had five targets, 5 receptions last week. He was looking good before he got the eye socket injury, and he came back last week and just sort of slipped straight back into it. And I think for a rookie tight end, he's doing really well, and he's someone that you might see around for quite a while with the Giants. I think he's definitely got the potential there. He's 16 to 5, so it's a big price, but I quite like him for this game. And so so Bellinger at 16 to 5, I think is good. On the Eagles side, I think the Giants have got a pretty decent defense. So I think that's how come they will sort of bring it down a little bit. Hurts is quite short. I think he's about even money for a touchdown, which is a little bit short for Jalen Hurts. But at the same time, because Dallas Goedert isn't out there, he does seem to be running a little bit more. So I think that it is worth having a look at that. I like AJ Brown at 6 to 5. I think I came out and said a few weeks ago I didn't think he looked fit, and now I think he does look fit, and he does look a bit better. So I don't know if he did have something wrong. At 6 to 5, I quite like him. The one I really like though this week is Devonta Smith. So at 8 to 5, I think he's a decent price. He's slightly bigger than Brown. He's the second guy behind Brown now, and you can see that we've got it out there. Smith is getting more and more involved as well. So I think that I like Smith a lot for this game to score. So at 8 to 5, I think that's good. Both defenses are pretty similar. They're pretty much ranked the same. So, like I say, I think it'll be tight, but I think the Eagles will nick it, just because I think the Eagles are kind of in that mindset at the moment where they are just nicking games a lot of the time. The Giants, I think, have struggled over the last few weeks with injuries, and that's been a problem. So I think the Eagles nick it. I think it'll be really tight, and I really like Devonta Smith.
Yeah, last week you didn't like Devonta Smith, and he probably proved you wrong a little bit. So
yeah,
you've gone for him this week. For me, I think this is a game. I've always said when it's a rivalry this big, it's anybody's game on the night. But I think this one, on the other hand, is more how long can the Giants keep in the game? I've seen this from the Giants over the last few weeks. They look really good, they look really strong, they look competitive in the game. But then come later on down the line when fatigue kicks in, we just haven't got the rotation because we're already playing our backup players to keep with the offense of the other team. And we look a bit tired in the fourth quarter and we lose games. And that's where we've been losing them. We lost it against Dallas, against Washington had their comeback in that time when we played the Commanders. And the Eagles have just got a stacked roster. So it's how long can we keep in this game, I think. If we can keep in it to the end, it's going to be a close finish because that'll pull you through. But as you said, it's where are the points going to come from the Giants if Saquon is struggling? Slayton's looked good downfield. He's catching some absolutely ridiculous balls real deep down the field. And then we're seeing a lot more from now. We've been consistently having Isaiah Rodgers and Richie James. It goes to one of them. I think it's been we have seen a bit more consistency from them because that core's been playing together for the last few games. But Bellinger for me be the obvious one if you were betting. He is targeted in those red zone areas as well, so that's a fantastic one. And last week I did say to you it was the first time we had Ojulari, Thibodeau, Lawrence, Williams all on the field at the same time, and we'll see a different Giants defense. And we did. They got a lot more pressure on the quarterback. It helped the secondary out a load because they were getting that pressure, especially from Ojulari and Thibodeau. I think if we can do that again and fluster Hurts a little bit, maybe there's a chance. But I think it's just how long we can stay in it. I do think the Eagles the roster's just too strong for us to stay in that one, I think. And I think, unfortunately, I'm having to say that I think the Eagles will win this one. Next game,
this was kind of that was kind of why I was looking at it. I just had a quick look actually because last night when I went through these, it was +7. I just had a quick look. It's actually down to +4.5 now for the Giants. So there has been some money come in for the Giants. I think there is a little bit of that thought process of that they will hang on in here and do quite well. So yeah, I'm not too keen on the +4.5, but I quite like the +7 I got. So.
Yeah, well, I think this is exactly what I say to you when you get these rivalries. It doesn't matter of your record. I've said it in the past. It doesn't matter what your record is. Just something clicks with teams when they play these massive rivalries, and you get these funny scores and these odd scores and wins. So I think this is one of the fixtures that you can clearly see that it happens in. I think I've said it in previous years with the Packers versus the Vikings as well. You get odd scores in that, even when the Packers are flying. So the Eagles Giants is the one for me from that division. The next one up is the one that you previously mentioned that you thought I'd have on, jokingly, obviously. The Ravens at the Steelers.
Are you not a massive Ravens Steelers fan? What's wrong with you? Come on. So
soft spot for the Steelers, but yeah.
This is a horrible game. This is going to be a horrible, horrible game, I think. The over-under is currently at 36.5. They've got the Steelers as 1.5-point favourites for this game. I think purely because they're at home, to be honest, is probably what it is. Both defenses are decent, but not great. The Steelers are very good against the run. The Ravens are pretty solid on both sides of the ball, but the Steelers, you can get at them over the top, which is what we've seen quite a lot this year. On the Ravens side, I mean, to be brutally honest, on both sides, there's not a lot here. There really isn't. It's a bit of a dead game. Mark Andrews at 9-5, just because it's Mark Andrews. He's a bigger price, obviously, because it's Huntley, but I think because it's Andrews, it's worth looking at 9-5. On the Steelers side, it's Pat Freiermuth at 9-4 that I quite like the look of. He's getting loads of targets from Pickett, and he's got a chance of getting in. I'm kind of a bit of a loss here with it. I mean, the only one I was trying to find, because obviously the weakness of the Steelers is going over the top. So you're trying to find a wide receiver that you feel that you can put your hat on for the Ravens that can do this. You can't do it with Duvernay. You kind of feel like you should be able to because he's got the speed to get over the top, but you just can't do it because he's so all over the place. The only one that I looked at, and even then, this is like not really, but if you want a bit of a gamble, is Demarcus Robinson at 18-5. He had 8 targets last week. That's pretty much the only logic I've got for you. He had 8 targets with Huntley. You know, this is the thing. So that's why I'm kind of a little bit like, he might be the one to go for here at a bigger price at 18-5. But to be honest, it's going to be a rough game, lots of defense, not a lot of scoring. The over-under is 36.5. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Can I have a tie? I don't like either of them, to be honest.
It could be a tie.
I'm going to go for a tie. Not many people. I feel not many people would go for a tie. I'm going to go for a tie.
I feel like last week, the way we were talking about the Giants Commanders game, we were almost basically saying it was going to be a tie. We said it had come down to a last-minute field goal, which it kind of did, but didn't. So, yeah.
Ravens to win with a
63-yard
field goal from Justin Tucker in the last second. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really trying to analyze this game and get really deep into it to try and get something,
you'd be depressed if you did that.
How good the Steelers defense is. I've said this previously. If you give them one job to do, they do it really well, and it's stop the run, isn't it? It's stop the run. Keep an eye on the quarterback because he's going to do Lamar Jackson styled runs. So keep your eye on him. Stop the run. Steelers should win it. That's surely for me. Yes, you say they're weak over the top, but on the flip side, they're playing a team that's not got much to throw it over the top to. So you would have thought weak over the top, the weakness they've got should handle the receivers. They're not coming up against a Jefferson or a Chase or a Diggs or anyone like that. So they might be able to contain what the Ravens have got. And then on the flip side of it, I really like the pieces they've got. I really like Pickens. I really like Johnson, Harris. TJ Watt's playing as well. He's fit, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think that makes a big difference as well. So I think that makes all the difference in this game. I'm going to go for the Steelers to win this one. For me, good defense, more weapons on the offense if they don't get the run game going, I think that's the Ravens sort of kept quiet for the day, and it's at the Steelers as well. So I'm going to side with the Steelers for this one. I think they might pull away and win it. We've seen a lot more consistency from Kenny Pickett over the last few weeks. A lot more consistency.
Yeah, he has looked better over the last couple of weeks. He's looked a lot more solid and sort of finding Pickens a lot more, which I think is making a big difference. You may well be right. I think I just think it's going to be very tight, very niggly, typical divisional game. The only person I know who's going to love this is Fred. He's the only one I know. He's going to be well into this because it's all defense, and it's like, I think the only point that we'll watch any of this game is when it reaches overtime and it's on red zone because there's nothing else on. That's it. Yeah.
So. What is it? Oh no, it'll leak into the evening games. If it was a late game, it'd be one of them where the Sky just leave it on the telly for you. You can just watch the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But we are on to the late games, and the first one up is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos.
So this is really weird because obviously the Chiefs are going to win this. This is a foregone, fine. But what's really weird is I've got like notes and stuff, and I've got more names on the Broncos side than the Chiefs side because I can't back any of the Chiefs because I don't know where the ball's going to go. There's too many of them. All I've got is Kelce. That's it. Every week, 4 to 5, Travis Kelce. The end. I don't have anything else for you on the Chiefs. It could go anywhere. But you've got Juju out there. You got MVS out there. You got Justin Watson out there. You got Sky Moore coming out for a little bit. Kadarius Toney comes out when he's fit. I got nothing. I don't know where you go with it. Where'd you go? Tell me. Pacheco. Okay. Well, Pacheco's 13-10. So again, for a team that doesn't run that much, it feels quite short. This is the problem. It's like there just isn't anywhere solid apart from Kelce. So it's really, really difficult other than Kelce.
So a question for you, looking at the odds. Do the bookies feel that way and they've kind of like made everybody really low odds? Or is there value in the fact that they don't know where it's going, so there's higher odds on like Juju and people like that?
I would say they don't know where it's going, so the value is high. The value, look, I will never come out and say don't have a go with these guys. But I can't tell you where it's going to go, and that's the problem. So Juju's 6-4, which to me is a decent price for a receiver who's he's a good receiver. He's got a good chance. 6-4 is all right. MVS is 2-1. You've got Justin Watson's 3-1. Sky Moore's 18-5, and I don't think Kadarius Toney's fit this week. So yeah, I mean, you know, you look at these other ones and you sort of think. So think of it this way: like Christian Kirk's 2-1. Well, MVS is 2-1. Now, all right, Kirk's the number one guy for the Jags, but MVS is kind of what? I mean, two, maybe three, you could argue. Justin Watson's getting more and more involved. So it's very difficult because you've got multiple guys that you can go with. And obviously they've got Kelsey as well, who's a big target for Mahomes. So it becomes really difficult to find anyone in particular on the Chiefs. But there is value out there if you want to get, go for it on one of them in particular and you really like them. But every week I just feel like I'm in the same position every time. I just don't know which one it's going to go to because it is entirely plausible. It could go to all of them. So it's a really difficult one. On top of that, you're going up against a Broncos defense that is ranked number 1 against passing touchdowns. So they're going to stop, they're going to do their best to stop that, and they're pretty good at it. And they're tied 6th against the run as well. So it is a difficult defense to go up against. Having said that, obviously the offense of the Broncos is so poor with Russell Wilson that it's almost impossible to think that they've got a chance of winning it. You can go for Latavius Murray at 7-5. I'm not a massive fan of it, I must say. I feel like Murray's doing okay, but it's only because he's the only one that's there. So I don't think he's necessarily going to be getting a touchdown. The one I like the look of this week is Jerry Jeudy. He's the number 1 receiver because Courtland Sutton looks like he's going to be out. He's 11-5, so he's a decent price. You have to think the Broncos are going to get a few opportunities. So I really like Jeudy at 11-5. And then finally, Greg Dulcich as the tight end with Courtland Sutton going out. He's involved a lot more. So at 14-5, I think he's a good price. I wouldn't really be that excited to back any of them, to be honest. But I think that Judy's the one who's most likely. And the Chiefs have won this game in the last 13 times. So they're going to win again.
Yeah, I don't see how they can't win because the Broncos cannot put any points up on the board. It does. We've seen it every week, so it's not as if we're going, "Oh, let's look at the stats." Oh, then the opposition's defense isn't good at stopping the tight end, isn't good at stopping the wide receivers. They're still not putting the points up in those games. So why are they going to do it in this one? And the Chiefs are definitely going to score. There is a wide receiver I like more at the Chiefs this week based on how much I watched of them last week. So I noticed, so this comes from fantasy, and I don't know why I'm analyzing things in fantasy this much when I'm playing it. But the person that I played against last week had Juju Smith-Schuster on their team. So every time the Chiefs was on and I was watching it, I was looking for him of where he was on the pitch to see if they were going to throw the ball to Juju. And I noticed when they were close to the red zone, Juju wasn't on the field.
No.
And Sky Moore is only 5'10", and Watson is a rookie that's slowly coming into it. MVS for me is the veteran who's tall, who's reliable. We know those things from him. And he was the one that they targeted towards the back for the jump balls across the middle. So for that reason, I'm going to go with MVS as the scorer. And the logic behind it, I feel like fits.
Well, we'll see. I mean, you know, like I say, I think it's the problem is like I say, that's 2-1, and Kirk's about the same. So who would you rather have your money on?
Kirk.
There you go. And this is the problem. This is what I mean. It's like you look at these guys, and this is where it kind of almost becomes there isn't anywhere else. I mean, it's like, you know, so say like you've got so in the next one you've got Chris Godwin. He's 2-1.
Hey, we haven't got that far yet.
No, I know, but I'm just saying you've got someone like Godwin who's around the same price. Who would you rather have, Godwin or MVS? And again, I think most people are going to go Godwin.
I think that's a coin flip for me, that one. But
I know they're not scoring as much, but you just sort of think the guy seems to be getting more involved. This is the problem. It's really difficult. And you just look at these receivers on that side, and it just becomes very, very difficult in order to pick the right one. You know, I mean, DJ Chark's 21-10. Or MVS. You know, I mean, they're both kind of coin flips, really. This is the problem. When you've got so many offensive weapons like the Chiefs do, it's really tough to find the winner who's going to get the touchdown. So in the end, it just becomes a point of you just don't go there because it's just you just don't know where to go.
You're giving yourself a pat on the back for guessing correctly rather than any
logic. Well, essentially that's what it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's half of what this is. But it's like at the same time, it's a tough one.
You could put them all in a hat and pick one out. That's all we're saying. If you fancy some like roulette betting,
I think I think the Chiefs might just about win it. Yeah.
As we said, next game up, the Buccaneers at the 49ers.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a. I don't think this is going to be a particularly exciting game. I have to say, unfortunately, I think it'd be quite close
in terms of
offense. Yeah, I think it'd be quite a tight game, quite a low-scoring game. So it might. I mean, in that respect, it'll be interesting to watch. But I just mean, like, I don't think you're going to be getting like big points or anything like that in this particular one. The 49ers, I thought Brock Purdy looked half decent when he came in. He looked all right. A lot of it's going to be to CMC. I think they're going to rely on him in order to get through some of this. But he can, he looks decent. He can pass the ball around. So I like CMC at 5-6. The only other one on the 49ers, because the one person even that I think will suffer from not having Jimmy Garoppolo out there is Brandon Ayuk. I think that he'll be the one who suffers. And so I'm not really that keen on going down that route. But the one that I do like is George Kittle, purely because he's playing against the Bucs, who struggle against the tight end. I can't remember exactly what they are against tight end. I think they're 28th or 29th at the moment against the tight end. But at 13-5, I think he's a really good price. So I like George Kittle in this matchup. On the Bucs side, as I said, Chris Godwin 2-1. I think he's the only reliable receiver that Brady has at the moment. He looks fit now. He looks strong. He's getting in the end zone a few times. So I like Godwin at 2-1. Evans is actually shorter, but you just can't go there at the moment because he seems so unreliable. I don't quite know what's going on there with him. But this is what he does. Sometimes he'll have seasons where he hits loads of touchdowns. Sometimes he won't. And then, to be honest, there's not really a lot else in this game where you've kind of got two defenses that are relatively strong, and the 49ers especially, and not a lot of, the Bucs just not really putting up many points. The 49ers, I think their points will start to come down a little bit because of it being Brock Purdy. And I just don't think it's a particularly high scoring matchup or one that you're going to be looking for touchdown scorers in that much. The over-under is currently 36.5, so it's the same as the Ravens Steelers. I can kind of see it being a bit like that. I think the 49ers will win it. I think they're probably that their defense is just that bit better and that bit stronger. So I think they'll win it. But yeah, I mean, I can see. I think they've got the over/under about right, so I don't think I'd be going near that. I could see it being them sort of points, and so there's not a lot to really go on. But I do like Kittle for it.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. It's a good one to watch. Purdy versus Brady. That's the old man against the young man. I still like Purdy for this one. We spoke about him on Tuesday, and I felt like he played a very similar game to what you'd get from Jimmy G. But if you noticed with them being the late game last week, that you got to see a bit more of him. And I feel like they allow him to throw that more explosive play more regularly than they do Jimmy G, which I was surprised at because he was a rookie. I thought they'd put him in and say, there's the Jimmy G playbook. You're playing that. It's hand it off. It's short passes. It's move the ball. But they did let him throw the ball. And so they've obviously got confidence in him getting it downfield. And he looked consistent. So I don't think we're going to see a drop-off from Ayuk. I think with the weapons he's got with Debo and with McCaffrey, it's going to open up some plays for him. It opens up the field, doesn't it? And he just needs to be sensible. And I think we'll have another good game from Purdy and see him move the ball quite easily against the Bucs defense, which I don't think's been as good as what I thought it'd be. I don't think you know, it's got areas of weakness. Whereas the 49ers, it's just really good defense from them, isn't it? And Buccaneers haven't managed to move the ball on teams that haven't got as good a defenses. So I think we're going to see a similar thing here again against the 49ers. So for me, I think 49ers win it, not necessarily comfortably, but they win it without it being like the Buccaneers versus the Saints and it coming down to a last play. So next game up is the Panthers at the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, both defenses are pretty shoddy, to be honest, in this game. The Seahawks are ranked 29th when it comes to giving up passing and rushing touchdowns, and the Panthers are 20th when it comes to giving up passing and rushing touchdowns. So both of them are not great. I think that kind of opens itself up to a potentially not a massively exciting matchup, because I actually think the Seahawks will probably be too strong for the Panthers in this one. But there could be points being scored in this one, certainly more than the previous one. With the Seahawks, it's a little strange because I'm kind of looking at the betting odds here, and you know they've got Kenneth Walker 4-5 anytime, and as far as I was aware, he's not playing, he's out. So the one running back that they kind of have left who's practiced in full is Travis Homer. Now, when I looked at it and did it yesterday, he was 5-2. He's now 7-5. So I think you want to have a look at Travis Homer at 7-5. I think he's going to get the workload. They like to run the ball. Having said all that, I think because of the lack of running options that they have, there will be an element of having to pass a lot more. Geno Smith he had an injury come up during the week, but I think they feel that he's going to be okay and he's going to play. I really like DK Metcalf despite the hip injury that he currently has at 13-10. But the one that I really like and like the look of is Tyler Lockett. He's scored 5 touchdowns in 5 games. He's the bigger price at 11-8. I think he's definitely worth getting on this week against the Panthers side that you can score on, not mega easily, but I mean, we saw them games, didn't we? Like the one against Atlanta where, you know, Atlanta put insane numbers up against them. I think you can score. I think Lockett is the one who's got that speed to get past the defense and will be the one that's worth looking at in this. On the Panthers side, I haven't really got anything that much other than that if Donta Foreman plays, he'll probably be worth having a look at. He's currently 6-5. So it's a bit short for someone that's been out for a while and you don't really know if he's going to do much. I can't trust DJ Moore. I can't trust Chuba Hubbard. I can't trust Sam Darnold. So there's not a lot there. So yeah, I think the Seahawks will win it. Really, really like Lockett in this one, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm fully agreeing. I think Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are really underrated again. I think they've both had absolutely massive seasons. No one really talks about them. Maybe they don't talk about them because they just are consistent and do the business. Yeah. But I think both of them will probably get in the end zone. I think even if they are a bit tentative with Metcalf, you're bringing him in towards the goal line because he's just a beast. So I wouldn't worry about him too much. I think they're consistent. I think they don't need to rely on the run game, as we've just said with these two guys at wide receiver. So I think they'll be fine. Panthers, is this a game that you're looking at where the Panthers players are now playing to showcase for next year? So do you think we're going to see more out of some of their players? Do you think we're going to see better from Sam Darnold? Do you think we're going to see more from some of those wide receivers just based on the fact that they are playing for next year now?
I think possibly. I mean, the issue with that is that we've seen an awful lot from Sam Darnold over the years. There's only so much you're going to get from him, and so that's the problem. DJ Moore, again, you've seen an awful lot, so you know what. This is the thing. I think maybe there might be some younger players out there. There might be, say, like your Terrace Marshall might improve because of that sort of thing. Laviska Chenault maybe will do a bit more. He does get involved a bit more than what he has been in the past. So, yeah, I think you might find that them sort of players, if they get on the field, might be a bit more likely to do that. But really, the main guys there have been around for a while. Not necessarily the Panthers, but just in the league for a while. We all know what DJ Moore can do. We all know what Sam Darnold can do. So, you know, I can't really see it changing that much.
Are you tempted by the LSU championship treble of having Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Terrace Marshall as a treble?
No.
Oh, okay. Or is it Terrace Marshall who feels letting that one down?
I feel that might be the issue. You had a lovely double there, but unfortunately you went for the treble and it all went wrong. So
yeah, I just like the fact of having all the LSU championship people in one bet. It just makes it more interesting. I don't know why I look at stuff like that. Yeah, I think the Seahawks win it. I think they've just, you know, they're playing for their division still. They're playing for the playoffs. There's more at stake for them against a team they should be beating. So even with the Panthers putting that effort in, I think they still get the victory there. On to the late game. That is the Miami Dolphins at the struggling Chargers.
Yeah, both. I was having a quick look. Actually, both defenses are pretty bad. I kind of felt like the Dolphins are slightly better. I suppose they're tied 24th against passing touchdowns, whereas for the Chargers are 28th. But to be honest, when you reach that point, it just shows that you're both pretty bad. So I think both defenses aren't great. It's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. There's a lot of good offensive weapons. I like the over at 53.5 at 10-11. I think that is certainly one that is worth looking at. For me, on the Chargers side, obviously Eckler is always worth having a look at. But he's 8-11, so he's very short. The one that I'm really keen on is Keenan Allen. I think he looked good last week. I think he looked fit last week, and that's a good thing for him. He's 6-4, so he's quite a nice price as well. Mike Williams is meant to be back for this one. Apparently, he practiced in full, but it's his first one back after re-aggravating the injury. At 13-8, he's just 1 point away from Allen. I think I would rather be going for Allen at 6-4. And then Gerald Everett is 12-5, who I think because of the price is always worth having a look at. The Dolphins are okay against the tight end, but not great. So I think Everett is probably worth keeping an eye on and maybe going for. On the Dolphins side, there's not a lot at a price, to be honest. Hill's 9-10, he's very short. Raheem Mostert seems to be the one who's going to be the main running back this week, 23-20. But again, I feel it's quite short. Jalen Waddle 6-5. He came in and out of the game last week, which was a bit. They're saying he's fit, but we're not sure. And then the one guy at a price actually who might be worth having a look at is Trent Sherfield at 21-10.
Every time.
Was that your guy?
Yeah, I just rub out everything I'm going to talk about.
Sherfield, obviously, it was the first play, wasn't it, against the 49ers last week? Just completely blitzed them and looked decent when he came on for Waddle. I think the problem with Sherfield is going to be how much, because if Hill and Waddle are out there, he's not going to see a lot of game time. That's going to be the issue. But he's all right. He's not a bad receiver and he's done well in the past. So I think it's worth having a go with Sherfield. To be honest, I think the Dolphins are probably just slightly better. Slightly more explosive, slightly better than what the Chargers are at the moment. So I'd probably go for them to win it. But really, the ones that I like the most on is I like the over because I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game. And I really like Keenan Allen at 6-4.
Yeah, I suppose this is a good game to gauge where these two teams are at because prior to the season starting, there's a lot of buzz about both these teams, but a lot of buzz about them being playoff contenders. And I feel like they're quite evenly matched in terms of where they're at with their franchises at the moment. It's just we've seen more from the Dolphins and the Chargers have underperformed from what we thought. But from roster to ability to players they've got, this is a good gauge to see which one of them can move forward with their franchises. So it's a tough one to call because of that reason. I do think the Dolphins, just based on what they've done this year, should tilt in their favor. But equally, we've seen where their weaknesses are, and we know what the strengths are of the Chargers. And I feel like if they do get all that receiving core back, then that's where this could go down. I'm struggling to call a winner from it. I'm leaning towards the Dolphins, and it's the Dolphins, I feel, just based on previous games this season and the fact that the Chargers somehow managed to find a way to blow games they should win. But yeah, I'm really interested in this game for future reference as well, to see what we can get from these franchises as growing ones to potentially be ones to watch out for. So, but I'm going to stick with the Dolphins. And like you said, Sherfield, I don't know what it is about him. It's just, I've just had a look to see what his target percentage was sort of over the last 4 or 5 games. He's not seeing loads of targets, but every time I turn the telly on and the Dolphins are on, it's going to number 14, and I'm like, it's him every time. It's obviously not. It's just I just keep seeing him crop up, and obviously I just thought it'd be one to bring to the table to chat to you about, because his name does keep cropping up. So yeah, Dolphins for me. Next game up, the Tuesday one. Oh, no one's staying up for this, are they? Well, the diehard fans are. The Patriots at the Cardinals.
Yeah, no one's staying up for this. Yeah, it's a bit of a rough one. The Patriots, I was looking at the stats and stuff, very good against the run. So that's that's a bit of a concern for James Conner, I have to say. So I think that the Patriots they've struggled over the last few weeks. I feel, to be honest, with the Cardinals defense, I think I've said it the last few weeks. I think they've just given up on the defense. You've got a few players there that obviously won't. You've got Watt there who won't give up. You've got Budda Baker who won't give up. But the rest of them, they just don't look like they're really playing. It looks like there's some real problems at the Cardinals at the moment. I don't quite know what they need to do to change it, other than maybe get rid of some people, but they've just signed the coaching staff and the GM to massive long contracts, and
that's the issue, Cliff.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's the quarterback. This is the problem. It's like it's all of it thrown in together, I think, is the problem. So it's really difficult to work out what you're going to get with the Cardinals. The only thing that I like Hopkins because he's 6'5". So if he's another one, he's a bit like Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you can get him odds against, and I think he's worth having a look at against the Patriots defense. That's against the pass. They do give up touchdowns against the pass. So I like Hopkins at 6'5", and like Brown at 21-10. That he's back now. He will be better. So I think that's good for the Cardinals side. Patriots side, it's very much Ramondre Stevenson, and that's it. At 4-6, it's very short. Probably not one that I'll be that bothered about getting involved in. If you want one at a price, because I think Jacoby Myers is out this week, I think the one at a price is Hunter Henry at 3-1. The only reason I'm saying it is that the Cardinals are appalling against the tight end and have been all season. They cannot cover the tight end. And so this could be one of the few times that Hunter Henry actually gets in the end zone this week. So I like him at 3-1. Kind of like, like I said, Brown. I think Brown is probably the one at 20 at the price that I really like as well. Who wins? Who cares, really? I mean,
it should be a Patriots win, shouldn't it?
And I don't know. I don't know if it should.
They're not out of the hunt yet, are they? So
they're not. No, I mean, you look at the spread. They've got them at -1.5 to the Patriots. So it kind of is. It's sort of edging towards the Patriots, but I think it's very much a coin flip kind of game where I'm surprised it's still on Monday night, to be brutally honest. I would have thought they might have flexed it out, but
I've noticed with the television coverage, there's a lot of They like to play. They like to put the Cowboys on against weaker teams. So when they
I
blow
get
them
that,
out,
though.
it's like, oh yeah, let's get on the train. And I feel like you kind of get that with the Patriots a little bit. It's going to be a game. If the Patriots win this, they're going to be 7-6. They're going to be talking about them again a bit more. I think if you just put this game on at 6 o'clock with all the rest, no one talks about it. It doesn't get any coverage. Patriots just maybe go 7-6, and we move on and we talk about a different team. So I think there might be an element of that in it. Like I said, 7-6, you're still in the hunt, aren't you? So
yeah,
they will not want to finish bottom of their division. They will not want to finish bottom. So I think there's a lot to play for them. But there's a lot to say about this game when we talk about it every week, we highlight the Cardinals defense, the secondary, against the tight end. Yet I'm still not confident enough to pick Mac Jones up in fantasy and play him.
No.
I mean,
no.
That's the concern for me. You say there's going to be a lot of Ramondre Stevenson, but can Mac Jones do enough to propel them to beat? What we are saying is there's some really nice pieces that can put points up against you with Hopkins, Brown, Connor. Connor will be used to catch the ball as well. He won't just be running. And I think that's where the element of doubt comes in of who's going to win this one. But it should be the Patriots for me. But who knows? There is a lot of teams on bye week again this week. A lot of teams. It's we've said that it should be an even amount every week, shouldn't it? But if this is the second
there was 2 last week and 6 this week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how difficult would it have been for it to be 4 and 4?
We said this earlier in the year. What was it? Like week 6 or 7 or something.
There was
like that.
one really early when there was quite a few. Yeah.
It seems a bit odd, but that's all the matchups. Adam, what have you got for us for our trebles this week?
You want another winner after last week?
You're on a bit of a hot streak at the minute. There's been,
1 week.
Hey, we had a win of the week prior. Don't you? You had a big win of the week prior. It came from my mouth, but.
Right, so the early games we've gone for, obviously, Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Of course, we've gone for Amon-Ra, 21-20. Devonta Smith at 8-5, and Christian Kirk at. So when I did it as 2-1, he's now back down to 9-5. All 3 of them for the early games, that came out to, I think it was just short of 14-1. So it's a little bit higher than last week, but obviously with Kirk going down, you're probably looking at 13. For the evening games, Travis Kelce, we've gone for Chris Godwin, and then finally Tyler Lockett. So that came out to 13-1 as well. So both of them are 13-1. Let's hope we get at least one more in the books. Although last week, both of, what was it, 11-1 and 10-1. So worked it out. If you put, how many weeks have we got? We've got 18 weeks. So if you do 10 quid on each one, that's 360. We're already. So yeah, happy days this year.
Well, well in the green, like well in the green.
There you go.
And I'm really surprised that when you're reading the names out, especially on that early one, I thought, oh, here we go. We've got another 10-1, 11-1 sort of odds coming on again. So I'm quite surprised that, and in the second game, they are slightly higher. I think it does make all the difference. So definitely be looking at both of them. They seem almost surefire victories. They do, especially the early one. The names that are on that list, seems like a no-brainer.
I think the issue will probably be Smith and Kirk. I think we would be surprised if Amon-Ra didn't get in. And then on the late one, I think Godwin. Could be the issue, just because you're going up against the 49ers defense. But there was only three games, wasn't there, in the late window?
Don't put them off it, Adam.
Go for it. Let's have another winner.
I like them. I think we've got another week with another winner. So best of luck with your betting. Best of luck with your teams. Obviously, it's getting closer to the playoffs. And we will be back on Tuesday. We'll be back on Thursday for the other shows. And we will again be back. We won't have Adam next week for the preview show.
Yes, you will, because we're not doing it on Sunday because most of the games are earlier, aren't they?
That was the week. So we will still have winners next week. But thanks for joining you. Best